By 1950, the United States was post-World War II, experiencing significant growth and change. Coins like this were circulating everywhere, from bustling cities to small towns, marking everyday transactions of millions of Americans. The 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny is one of the last years of this beloved design, as the wheat reverse would soon be replaced by the Lincoln Memorial in 1959. In 1950, the U.S. Mint produced Lincoln Wheat Pennies in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Let's break down the details. Philadelphia mint marked these coins were produced in large quantities, with over 272 million struck. Denver mint marked the Denver Mint produced around 334 million coins, making them slightly more common. The San Francisco Mint struck 118 million coins, making these the least common of the 3 in 1950. While none of these mints produced any notable errors or major variations in 1950, the S Mint mark coins are often sought after by collectors due to their relative scarcity compared to the others. As with any coin, the value of a 1950 wheat penny depends heavily on its condition. Coins are graded on a scale from poor P1 to mint state MS70. Here's what you should look for. These are circulated coins that show considerable wear. You'll typically see these in pocket change or coin collections. Their value is generally low, ranging from 5 to 10 cents. Coins in this condition show less wear, and some details of Lincoln's hair and the wheat stalks are still sharp. These can be worth around $1 to $2. Uncirculated MS60, MS65, this is where the value starts to climb. These pennies have never been in circulation and show no wear. Depending on the exact grade, uncirculated examples can fetch between $5 and $15. High-grade uncirculated MS66 and above premium coins in this condition, especially with the S Mint mark, can be worth $50 or more. While the 1950 wheat penny is generally common, higher-grade examples are certainly more valuable. However, in terms of rarity, it's important to keep in mind that this is not considered a key date like the 1909 SVDB or the 1914 D. Still, finding one in near-perfect condition is always a win for any collector. Now, let's talk errors. Unfortunately, the 1950 wheat penny isn't known for major errors, but minor die varieties or misstrikes do occasionally show up. If you happen to spot a 1950 penny with something unusual, like a double die or off-center strike, it could be worth significantly more, depending on the severity and demand for the error. 1950s Lincoln Wheat Penny. The iconic design featuring Lincoln's portrait on the front and wheat stalks on the reverse remained in circulation until 1958. The penny's design was the first time an American president appeared on a U.S. coin that was intended for general circulation. Now let's focus on the 1950s Lincoln Wheat Penny specifically. Minted in San Francisco, this penny is part of the later years of the Wheat Penny series, and it's a popular find among collectors for a variety of reasons, some of which might surprise you. So what makes the 1950s penny special? Well, let's take a closer look at the details that make this coin unique. The S Mint mark on the 1950s indicates it was minted in San Francisco. Only about 118 million of these pennies were struck, which may sound like a lot, but it's relatively low compared to some other years. Composition: like most wheat pennies, the 1950s is made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This makes older pennies valuable for their metal content, especially as copper prices rise. Design: the obverse features Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor D. Brenner, with the reverse showing the famous wheat stalks, a symbol of prosperity. Now, let's talk rarity and errors, two of the most important factors when determining a coin's value. The 1950s Lincoln Wheat Penny doesn't have as many famous errors as other coins, but there are some to look out for. Coins with striking errors, such as off-center strikes or double dies, can fetch a premium. There are also reports of repunched mint marks RPMs on some 1950s pennies, which adds to the intrigue and value for error collectors. So what's a 1950s Lincoln Wheat Penny worth today? This is where things get interesting. The value of a 1950s Lincoln Wheat Penny depends largely on its condition and grade. Circulated condition: in average circulated condition, expect this penny to be worth around 10 to 20 cents. Not bad for a coin that was originally worth only a penny. Uncirculated condition MS: if you've got a penny in mint state, which means it's never been in circulation, values can range from $5 to $10 for coins graded MS63 and up to $20 to $30 for higher grades like MS65 or better. Red vs. brown pennies: collectors also pay attention to the coin's color. A red penny, which retains its original bright copper sheen, will fetch higher prices compared to a brown penny that has naturally darkened over time. So there you have it. The 1950s Lincoln Wheat Penny is a fascinating piece of American history that still holds value today. Whether you're looking to complete your wheat penny collection or just want to see what's hiding in your pocket change, this is a coin worth looking out for. It's a reminder of the past, a piece of copper that tells a story, and maybe, just maybe, it's worth more than you think. 1950D Wheat Penny. The 1950D Lincoln Wheat Penny is part of the legendary Lincoln Wheat series, first minted in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The D Mint mark indicates that this penny was struck at the Denver Mint, one of 3 mints producing pennies during this period. 1950 was a significant year in the U.S. as the country was emerging from the aftermath of World War II and entering a period of economic growth. The penny itself was part of everyday commerce for Americans, used in everything from buying a newspaper to paying for a cane for a candy bar. In 1950, the Denver Mint struck an impressive 334,950,000 pennies. While that may sound like a lot, keep in mind that wheat pennies are becoming more scarce with time, especially those in higher grades of preservation. The coin's composition is 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, and its diameter is 19.05 em, weighing 3.11 grams. The obverse features the iconic bust of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor D. Brenner, while the reverse shows the familiar wheat ears design. Like most coins, the condition of your 1950 D penny plays a huge role in determining its value. Let's break down the different conditions you may encounter. Good G4 and well-worn condition. This penny is smooth and details are faint. Its value is typically only face value around 2 to 5 cents. Fine F12, more detail is visible, especially in Lincoln's portrait and the wheat stalks on the reverse. This grade can bring in around 10 to 15 cents. Extremely fine XF40, much more detail is visible, and the coin shows only minor wear. This grade can fetch about 50 cents to $1. Uncirculated MS60, MS65. If you have an uncirculated or mint state penny with no wear and full details, it could be worth between $3 to $10 depending on the market dot. For the highest grade coins, MS65 and above, values can sometimes reach as high as $20 or more. Depending on demand and auction results. Now, what should you look for to determine if your 1950 D penny is worth more than the average? First, check for any signs of doubling, particularly in the Liberty or the date. Doubling errors can significantly increase a penny's value. Another important feature is the strike. Stronger strikes with clear, crisp details, especially on Lincoln's face and the wheat stalks, tend to fetch higher prices. While the 1950 D penny isn't particularly known for major errors, keep an eye out for die cracks or repunched mint marks RPM. These are small but significant errors that can boost a penny's value. For example, a 1950 D penny with a repunched mint mark can sell for up to $50 or more in higher grades. 1951 Lincoln wheat penny. Today, we're focusing on the 1951 Lincoln wheat penny, a coin that is quite common but still worth knowing about, especially if you come across one in excellent condition. We'll be breaking down the history, design, mint marks, and of course the value. So let's get started. The Lincoln wheat penny was first introduced in 1909, replacing the Indian head cent. It was designed by Victor D. Brenner to honor President Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday. The coin remained in production until 1958, when it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse. The 1951 penny was minted during the middle of this run and doesn't have any special commemorative features, but it's still an interesting part of U.S. coin history. Let's talk about the design. On the obverse or front of the coin, you have a portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing. Above Lincoln, you'll see the word Liberty and the date 1951 with the mint mark, if present, located just below the year. The phrase "In God We Trust" is positioned along the top edge. On the reverse, you'll see 2 stalks of wheat on either side, framing the words 1 cent United States of America and the Latin motto E pluribus unum, which means out of many. This design gives the wheat penny its nickname. Now let's talk about mint marks. The 1951 Lincoln wheat penny was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Here's what to look out for when identifying your coin's mint mark. Minted in Philadelphia with over 284 million produced. 1951 D minted in Denver with over 625 million produced, making it the most common of the 3. 1951 S minted in San Francisco with just over 136 million produced, making it the least common but still fairly abundant. Keep in mind that the mint mark is located right under the date on the obverse side. If there's no mint mark, it was made in Philadelphia. Now, the question you've all been waiting for: what is a 1951 Lincoln wheat penny worth? Well, the value of this coin can vary depending on its condition, mint mark, and if there are any rare errors or varieties. 1951 no mint mark, typically worth 3 to 10 cents. 1951 D worth 5 to 10 cents. 1951-S worth 10 to 15 cents, slightly higher due to its lower mintage. Uncirculated mint state coins. 1951 no mint mark, worth around $2 to $5. 1951 D around $3 to $6. 1951 S worth $5 to $10. If you have a 1951 penny in uncirculated or mint state condition with a high grade, you're looking at potentially more valuable coins. Coins graded MS65 or higher could fetch upwards of $20 or more, especially if they exhibit bright red coloring. 1951 D Lincoln wheat penny. In 1951, the Denver Mint produced nearly 625 million Lincoln wheat pennies, marked by the small d under the date on the coin's obverse. These coins were part of the post-World War II era, a time when the economy was booming and coin production was in high demand. Let's take a closer look at the features of the 1951 D penny. On the obverse, you'll find the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln. The D mint mark signifies that this coin was struck at the Denver Mint. The reverse side features the iconic wheat stalks, a design that was used from 1909 to 1958. before being replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959. The Denver Mint produced a staggering 625,355,000 Lincoln wheat pennies in 1951. While this makes the coin fairly common in circulated condition, there are certain factors that can increase its value, such as condition and mint errors. Most 1951 D pennies in circulated condition will range from very good VG to extremely fine XF. However, uncirculated examples, especially those in mint state MS grades, can fetch significantly higher prices. We'll get into values in just a moment. Now let's talk about value. In lower circulated grades, such as very good VG or fine F, the 1951 D Lincoln wheat penny is generally worth between 5 to 10 cents. If the coin is in extremely fine XF condition, it might be worth around 25 to 50 cents. However, if your 1951 D penny is in uncirculated condition graded as mint state MS60 or higher, its value increases dramatically. Coins in MS63 to MS65 can fetch anywhere from $5 to $20 depending on the eye appeal and the quality of the strike. 1951 D Lincoln wheat penny value 2024 estimates. VG to F0.050, 10x F0.250, 50 MS-$605. MS65 $20. There are also rare varieties and errors that can add extra value to your 1951 D penny. One of the more common varieties is the repunched mint mark RPM, where the D was stamped more than once, resulting in a noticeable doubling effect. But today we're focusing on the 1951 S wheat penny minted in San Francisco. Let's dig into what makes this particular penny stand out. In 1951, three mints were striking the Lincoln wheat penny: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The S Mint mark tells us that this penny came from the San Francisco Mint, and in that year, around 136.2 million were produced. While that may seem like a large number, certain factors make this penny more or less valuable, depending on its condition and rarity. Like most coins, the value of the 1951 S wheat penny largely depends on its condition, or in numismatic terms, its grade. Let's break it down. Good to very good G4 VG8. If your penny shows a lot of wear and tear, Lincoln's features are barely visible, you're looking at a value of around 3 to 10 cents. Fine to very fine F12 VF20. With moderate wear but clearer details, this penny could be worth 10 to 20 cents. Extremely fine EF40. If your coin has only slight wear and the wheat stalks are sharp, it can fetch around 25 to 50 cents. Uncirculated MS60 MS65. Now, if you've got a pristine mint state penny with no signs of wear, your coin can range from $1 to $3 or more depending on its quality. Higher grade examples in MS65 or higher can reach up to $10 to $15. Another exciting aspect for collectors is finding error coins. The 1951 S penny has some known errors that can significantly increase its value. Look out for double die obverse DDO. This error happens when the die strikes the coin twice, creating a doubled appearance, especially on the lettering or Lincoln's features. If you find one of these, the value can jump to $20 to $50 or more. Coins that are misaligned can also fetch a premium ranging from $5 to $20 depending on how off-center the strike is. Now let's talk a bit about the composition of the 1951 S penny. Like most Lincoln wheat pennies, it's made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Because of this high copper content, some collectors save these pennies for their intrinsic metal value, but be aware, it's illegal to melt pennies for their metal. The reverse design features two wheat stalks, which symbolize prosperity and abundance, a design that became iconic in U.S. coinage history. 1952 Lincoln wheat penny. That means the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny is part of the last decade of this beloved design. Let's dive into what makes the 1952 edition unique. The 1952 Lincoln wheat penny shares the same classic design as other coins in the series. On the obverse, you'll find Abraham Lincoln facing right with the words "In God We Trust" above him, liberty on the left, and the mint year 1952 on the right. On the reverse, there are the famous wheat ears framing 1 cent in the center, with United States of America below and E pluribus unum on top. The 1952 penny was minted in 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia minted coins do not have a mint mark, while Denver's have a D mint mark, and San Francisco's have an S mint mark. So how many 1952 wheat pennies were minted? Quite a lot, actually. Let's break it down. Philadelphia mint, around 186 million coins were produced. Denver Mint produced a whopping 746 million coins, making it the highest mintage of the 3. San Francisco Mint produced about 137 million coins. Because of these high mintage numbers, the 1952 penny is not particularly rare in lower grades, but that doesn't mean there aren't valuable specimens out there. The value of a 1952 Lincoln wheat penny largely depends on its condition and whether it has a mint mark. Let's start with circulated coins, the most common. A circulated 1952 penny in good condition is typically worth 3 to 10 cents. If you have a coin in very fine condition, you could expect around 20 to 30 cents. Now, if you've got a penny in uncirculated condition where there's no visible wear and it still has its original mint luster, you're looking at a much higher value. For an MS63 grade coin from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, the price can range from $3 to $5 to $5. But if your penny is in MS65 condition or better, you could fetch anywhere from $10 to $25 or more, depending on the mint mark. Rare examples in top-notch condition with a full red designation, meaning they retain their full red copper color, can sell for even higher premiums at auctions. Error coins are always a fun aspect of collecting, and the 1952 wheat penny has a few that are highly sought after. Let's talk about two of the most valuable varieties. The first error to look out for is a double die on the obverse, where parts of the design, like the date or lettering, appear to be doubled. Coins with this error can sell for $50 or more, depending on the severity of the doubling and the coin's condition. 1952 D Lincoln wheat penny. Now, let's focus on the 1952 D Lincoln wheat penny. The D stands for the Denver Mint, where this penny was struck. In 1952, a total of 114,250,000 pennies were minted in Denver. The coin features a portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the iconic wheat stalks on the reverse. The composition of the penny is 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it that distinctive reddish-brown color, especially when in good condition. Now let's talk about the value of the 1952 D Lincoln wheat penny. The value can vary significantly based on its condition and any unique characteristics it may have. Here's a breakdown. Circulated condition: if you have a 1952 D penny that shows signs of wear, its value typically ranges from 2 to 5 cents. Uncirculated condition: in uncirculated condition, this penny can be valued anywhere from 10 to 20 cents. Mint state grades: if your penny is graded mint state 65 or higher, it can fetch anywhere from $1 to $3 or more, depending on market demand. Additionally, if you find one with unique minting errors such as double strikes or off-center strikes, it could be worth significantly more. For collectors, the 1952 D Lincoln penny is a great addition to your collection. Here are some tips to consider. Inspect your coins. Always check your coins for signs of wear, errors, or unique characteristics that could increase their value. Use proper storage. Store your coins in protective holders to prevent scratches and tarnishing. Avoid touching the surfaces with your fingers. Stay informed. Join coin collector groups or online forums to stay updated on market trends and value changes. Get them graded. If you think your coin is in exceptional condition, consider having it graded by a professional service. A higher grade can dramatically increase its value. 1952 S Lincoln wheat penny. Now let's take a closer look at the coin itself. The 1952 S wheat penny features the iconic design by Victor David Brenner. On the obverse, we see a portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, while the reverse showcases 2 stalks of wheat, symbolizing America's agricultural roots. The 1952 S Lincoln wheat penny had a mintage of around 100 million coins, making it a relatively common find for collectors. However, the value can vary significantly based on its condition. But what truly sets the 1952 S apart? Well, it's not just the value. This penny represents a significant period in American history, capturing the essence of the 1950s, the era of change, growth, and cultural shifts. During the early 50s, America was experiencing a boom. The economy was growing, families were moving to the suburbs, and television was becoming a staple in households. This was also the time when the U.S. minted more coins than ever, reflecting the increased demand for currency in a thriving economy. Collectors often focus on unique varieties, and while the 1952 S doesn't have any major errors or varieties like some other years, it's still a great coin for beginners to start their collection. Plus, it's a tangible link to our past. If you're looking to add the 1952 S to your collection, or if you want to evaluate your own coins, here are a few quick tips. 1953 Lincoln wheat penny. By 1953, the penny was already a beloved staple of American coinage, with the wheat design continuing to represent the nation's values. The 1953 Lincoln wheat penny was produced in significant numbers, but what makes this coin interesting? Let's look at its mintages. In 1953, 3 major mints produced the Lincoln wheat penny: the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint. Here's a quick breakdown of their mintages. Philadelphia Mint, 250,955,000 coins. Denver Mint, 125 million coins. San Francisco Mint, 49 million coins. This high production means that most 1953 pennies are relatively easy to find, but there are a few factors that can influence their value. When it comes to coin collecting, grading is essential. The condition of the coin dramatically affects its value. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin. Here's a breakdown of what you might expect for the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny. Good G4, $0.10 to $0.25. Very fine VF20, $0.50 to $1.50. Extra fine EF, $41.50 to $3. Uncirculated MS, $65 to $10. High grade uncirculated MS65, $30 or more, depending on demand. The key takeaway: if you have a well-preserved, high-grade 1953 penny, it could be worth significantly more than its face value. If you're looking to start or expand your collection of Lincoln wheat pennies, here are some tips. Inspect for varieties. Look for errors or unique features, such as double die varieties. Consider condition. Higher grade coins can fetch much better prices, so always check the coin's condition. Use a good magnifying glass. It helps spot details and imperfections. Join coin collecting groups. Networking with other collectors can provide insights and potential trading opportunities. 1 wheat penny. To understand the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny, let's travel back to the early 1940s. The world was on the brink of World War II, and the United States was just months away from joining the conflict after the attack on Pearl Harbor. Despite these turbulent times, the U.S. Mint continued producing millions of coins for everyday use, including the wheat penny. The Lincoln wheat penny itself was first introduced in 1909, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The reverse features 2 wheat stalks, giving the coin its wheat penny nickname. This design was produced until 1958, before the famous Lincoln Memorial reverse took over. Let's take a closer look at the 1941 penny. On the obverse, you have Lincoln's iconic portrait with the word Liberty on the left and the date 1941 on the right. Below the date, you'll often find a mint mark, which tells you where the coin was struck. The reverse side, of course, shows the 2 wheat ears framing the words 1 cent in United States of America with the Latin phrase e pluribus unum above. There are 3 key mint locations for the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny now. Let's talk about value. The worth of your 1941 penny depends on 3 main factors: mint mark, condition, and rarity. Philadelphia no mint mark. Over 887 million were struck, making these very common. Denver D mint mark. Approximately 128 million were produced. San Francisco S mint mark. Around 92 million were minted, making these slightly more valuable. Circulated pennies, the ones you'd find in your pocket or drawer, usually fetch between 10 to 50 cents depending on where. If your penny is uncirculated, meaning it shows no signs of handling, it could be worth between $1 to $3. In rare cases, a 1941 penny with pristine features and high grades from a professional grading service can be worth up to $15 or more. Some pennies may have die errors, such as double die averses or misstrikes, which can significantly boost the coin's value. These error pennies can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the severity and popularity of the error. Speaking of errors, the 1941 penny has a few known varieties that collectors are always on the lookout for. A popular example is the double die obverse, where parts of the design, like Lincoln's profile or the date, appear slightly doubled. These kinds of errors are not easy to find, but if you come across one, you've struck gold. 1941 D wheat penny. The Lincoln wheat penny, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner, was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The wheat design on the reverse was meant to symbolize growth and prosperity. By 1941, the world was in the midst of World War II. This was also a busy time for the U.S. Mint, which was producing coins in large numbers to support the war effort and everyday commerce. The 1941 D Lincoln wheat penny was struck at the Denver Mint, which is what the D mint mark stands for. While the Denver Mint is known for producing high-quality strikes, variations in the quality of these pennies have made certain versions more valuable today. Let's explore those details next. In 1941, over 128 million Lincoln wheat pennies were minted in Denver alone, which means this coin isn't exactly rare in terms of mintage. However, certain varieties and conditions can significantly affect its value. There are a few things collectors look for when examining a 1941 D penny. One is the overall condition of the coin, whether it's heavily circulated or in pristine uncirculated condition. Additionally, collectors love finding errors or variations, such as double die averses or repunched mint marks. These rare errors can send the value of a 1941 D penny skyrocketing. The condition of your 1941 D penny plays a huge role in determining its value. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state MS-70, with higher grades reflecting a coin that has little to no wear. Circulated pennies from 1941 typically range in value from about 10 to 50 cents, depending on their condition. But if you have an uncirculated coin, especially one graded MS-65 or higher, its value can be much more impressive, ranging anywhere from $5 to $20 or even more. Now, let's talk about what collectors are actually paying for these coins today. For a standard, well-worn 1941 D penny, prices hover around the 10 to 30 cent range, but for high-grade, uncirculated specimens, the value can jump significantly. 1941 S wheat penny. The 1941 S penny is part of this iconic series, and it was minted in San Francisco as indicated by the S mint mark beneath the date. 1941 was a pivotal year for the United States. While the country was on the verge of entering World War II, the production of pennies remained high. The San Francisco Mint struck over 92 million of these coins in 1941. Like other wheat pennies of this era, the 1941 S penny was composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This composition would change later during the war, as copper became a valuable material for military use, but in 1941, the traditional mix was still in place. On the obverse, we have Abraham Lincoln facing right with the inscription "In God We Trust" above his head. To his left, you see Liberty in the year 1941 to the right. The reverse shows two wheat ears, which gave this penny its nickname, the wheat penny. Between the wheat stalks, you'll find 1 cent United States of America and the motto E Pluribus Unum. In 1941, the San Francisco Mint produced approximately 92,360,000 Lincoln wheat pennies. While this isn't a rare mintage, it's significantly lower than the Philadelphia Mint's production of over 887 million pennies that same year. So compared to the Philadelphia and Denver issues, the San Francisco penny is scarcer, making it more sought after by collectors, particularly in higher grades. The value of a 1941 S Lincoln wheat penny largely depends on its condition. Coins in circulated condition are fairly common and typically range in value from 10 cents to about 50 cents. However, uncirculated coins, those graded as MS-60 or higher, can fetch a much higher price. A mint state MS-65 or higher 1941 S penny with vibrant luster and no noticeable flaws can sell for $20 to $40. Exceptional examples graded MS-67 or above have even been known to sell for upwards of $100 or more. One of the more exciting aspects of coin collecting is the discovery of minting errors or varieties. The 1941 S penny has some notable errors that can increase its value significantly. For instance, a double die obverse or an off-center strike can fetch much higher prices than a standard penny. Other errors, such as die cracks or repunched mint marks, are also sought after by collectors and can increase a coin's value depending on the severity and visibility of the error. 1942 Wheat Penny. The Lincoln Wheat Penny, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner, was introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. It replaced the Indian head penny, and its unique design became an instant hit. Fast forward to 1942, and the U.S. was deeply involved in World War II. During this time, the country's economy and manufacturing industries were heavily impacted by the war effort, and coins like this penny were an everyday part of people's lives. Let's talk about the design. The obverse of the 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny features the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, as it had since 1909. Beneath his image, you'll find the date 1942, and above his head is the motto "In God We Trust." To Lincoln's right is the word Liberty. On the reverse side, you see the familiar wheat ears. Framing the denomination 1 cent above it is United States of America, with the Latin motto E Pluribus Unum, meaning out of many. These wheat ears were designed to symbolize America's agricultural roots. Now, what makes the 1942 penny stand out? It was struck using 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. However, with the onset of wartime metal shortages, changes to penny compositions were just around the corner. In 1942, Lincoln wheat pennies were produced at 3 different mints: Philadelphia no mint mark, Denver marked with a small D below the date, and San Francisco marked with an S. The total mintage was quite high due to the need for coins in wartime America. Philadelphia Mint, over 657 million pennies were struck. Denver Mint, nearly 206 million. San Francisco Mint, around 85 million. With such high numbers, 1942 pennies aren't particularly rare. But as always, the value depends on condition and specific mint marks. When it comes to the value of a 1942 penny, condition is everything. The most common grades for these coins range from good, heavily circulated, and worn to mint state, virtually flawless and uncirculated. Here's a quick breakdown. Good to fine condition, these coins show significant wear. Especially around Lincoln's face and the wheat ears, they're typically worth only a few cents more than face value. Very fine to extremely fine, these pennies have moderate wear but still show most details clearly. You're looking at values around 10 to 25 cents. Uncirculated, if you've got a 1942 penny in mint condition, the value can jump significantly. Expect anywhere from $1 to $5 depending on the mint and the quality of the strike. So, what factors influence the value of a 1942 Lincoln wheat penny? Here are the key things to look out for. Mint marks coins from San Francisco S are generally worth a little more than those from Philadelphia or Denver. Condition, as mentioned earlier, a coin's grade plays a huge role. Uncirculated or lightly worn coins are much more valuable than heavily circulated ones. Errors or varieties, always check your 1942 penny for errors. Some 1942 pennies feature repunched mint marks, which can increase their value dramatically. For example, a double die variety or an off-center strike could make your coin worth significantly more. Historical significance: since this coin was produced during World War II, it carries a bit of historical importance that adds to its appeal for collectors. 1942 D Wheat Penny. The 1942 Lincoln wheat penny was minted during a crucial time in American history. As World War II raged on, the United States was focused on supporting the war effort. Although many industries were redirected towards military production, coinage was still essential for daily transactions. The Lincoln wheat penny had already been in circulation for over 30 years by this time. Designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909, the coin features President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side and two wheat stalks on the reverse, representing prosperity and growth. The 1942 D wheat penny was minted at the Denver Mint, identified by the D Mint mark right below the date on the coin. In total, over 206 million pennies were struck in Denver that year, making it a common but still fascinating coin to collect. Let's take a closer look at the design of this classic coin. On the obverse side, we see the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, as designed by Victor D. Brenner. The date 1942 and the mint mark D are placed right below his portrait. On the reverse side, we have the iconic wheat ears framing the words 1 cent in United States of America with E pluribus unum at the top. This penny was made of 95% copper with a mix of tin and zinc, just like other wheat pennies from this period. However, due to the ongoing war, metal supplies were becoming scarce. This scarcity led to major changes in the composition of coins just a year later in 1943 when the government produced steel pennies instead of copper ones. When it comes to determining the value of a 1942 D Lincoln wheat penny, condition plays a huge role. Grading helps collectors assess the quality of the coin. Here are the common grades for this penny. Good G4, the coin shows significant wear, and the details are flat. These are quite common and worth around 15 to 30 cents. Fine F12, there's moderate wear, but key details like Lincoln's face and the wheat stalks are still visible. Value ranges from 40 to 75 cents. Extremely fine XF40, little wear with most details still sharp. A coin in this condition could be worth around $1 to $2. Mint State Mississippi 60 to MS 65. These are uncirculated coins showing no signs of wear and having original mint luster. Depending on the grade, an uncirculated 1942 D penny could fetch anywhere from $5 to $15 or more. Remember, even small details in wear or luster can significantly impact a coin's value, so always consult with a professional if you're unsure. Now let's talk about value. The 1942 D Lincoln wheat penny is generally considered a common coin given the high mintage numbers. However, it still holds value for collectors, especially in higher grades. In lower grades, such as good G4 or fine F12, the penny is worth around 15 cents to 75 cents. In extremely fine XF40 condition, you might expect it to fetch between $1 and $2. Uncirculated examples, MS60 to MS65 could sell for anywhere from $5 to $15 depending on the specific grade and eye appeal. Special varieties or errors, such as double die or repunched mint marks, can significantly increase a coin's value, sometimes selling for hundreds of dollars at auction. 1944 wheat penny. The 1944 wheat penny was minted during a crucial time in U.S. history, right at the end of World War II, but why is this penny so special? In 1943, during the war, pennies were made from zinc-coated steel to save copper for wartime production. However, in 1944, the U.S. Mint reverted to using copper alloy, making the 1944 penny part of the wheat penny series. The 1944 wheat penny features the classic design with Abraham Lincoln on the obverse or front and two wheat ears on the reverse, hence the name wheat penny. This design was used from 1909 to 1958. There are a few key things collectors look for when it comes to the 1944 penny. First, there are three main varieties based on where the coin was minted. The 1944 penny with no mint mark, Philadelphia. The 1944 D Denver Mint. The 1944 S San Francisco Mint. But here's where it gets exciting, air coins. There are a few rare 1944 pennies that can be worth a lot more than their face value. One of the rarest 1944 pennies is actually a 1944 steel penny. Because steel was used in 1943, a small number of 1944 pennies were accidentally minted on leftover steel planchets from the previous year. These are incredibly rare, with only about 20 known to exist. If you happen to find one, you're looking at a coin worth anywhere from $75,000 to $110,000. Other air coins include the 1944 DS and 1944 SD over mint mark varieties, where the Denver and San Francisco mint marks were stamped over each other. These errors can fetch hundreds, even thousands of dollars depending on the condition. Now, let's talk value. The value of a 1944 wheat penny largely depends on its condition, also known as its grade. Coins in circulated condition, meaning they've been used, can range from 15 to 30 cents. But if your 1944 penny is in near perfect or mint condition, its value can jump to anywhere from $6 to $10. And that's just for the standard pennies. 1943 D Lincoln steel penny. First, let's talk about why the 1943 Lincoln penny was made of steel instead of copper. During World War II, copper was needed for the war effort, particularly for producing ammunition and other essential materials. As a result, the U.S. Mint had to come up with an alternative metal for the penny, and they decided on steel coated with zinc. In 1943, millions of steel pennies were produced across 3 different minting locations: Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Denver. This change was temporary, and by 1944, the penny returned to its original copper composition. Now, let's zero in on the 1943 Lincoln steel penny minted in Denver. Out of the total 1943 steel pennies, approximately 217 million came out of the Denver Mint. The D mint mark, located just below the date, identifies these coins. This coin was mass-produced, but that doesn't mean every 1943 steel penny is the same. Variations in condition, mint errors, and other factors can drastically affect the value of the coin today. Like with many coins, error varieties can significantly increase a coin's value. One of the most famous errors for the 1943 steel penny is the double die error on these coins. You'll see doubling on the date, the mint mark, or on Lincoln's profile. These error coins can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on the severity of the doubling and the coin's overall condition. Grading plays a huge role in determining the value of any coin, and the 1943 steel penny is no exception. Coins are typically graded on a scale from poor P1 to mint state Mississippi 70. A well-preserved 1943 Lincoln steel penny in mint state can fetch between $10 to $50, while circulated examples generally range from 10 cents to a few dollars. However, rare error coins, or those with exceptional features, can go for much more. Unfortunately, as with many valuable coins, fakes exist. Some counterfeiters attempt to pass off altered 1943 copper pennies as steel pennies by plating them with zinc, but with a simple magnet test, you can easily spot a real steel penny. If it's genuine, the magnet will attract it. Another common counterfeit involves altering the date on a 1948 copper penny to make it look like a rare 1943 copper error penny. So always double check before making any purchases. 1943 Lincoln wheat penny. To understand why the 1943 Lincoln wheat penny is so famous, we need to go back to the days of World War II. In 1943, the United States was deep in the war effort, and copper was a critical resource used in the production of ammunition and other military supplies. To save copper for the war, the U.S. Mint made a major change. They stopped making pennies from their usual bronze alloy, which contained 95% copper, and instead minted them out of steel coated with zinc. This switch resulted in the creation of the famous 1943 steel penny, a coin that stands out for its silver-like appearance, very different from the copper pennies we're used to seeing. But here's where things get really interesting. While most 1943 pennies were made of steel, a small number were accidentally minted using copper. These error coins were produced when leftover copper planchets from 1942 were mistakenly used to strike a handful of pennies at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. These copper 1943 pennies are incredibly rare. Less than 30 are known to exist, making them some of the most sought-after coins in the world of numismatics. One 1943 copper penny even sold for over $1 million at auction. Now, you're probably wondering how to tell if your 1943 penny is one of these rare copper coins or just a common steel one. Well, it's actually pretty easy. Here are a couple of quick tests you can do at home. First, take a magnet. If your 1943 penny sticks to the magnet, it's made of steel. Steel is magnetic, while copper isn't, so if your penny doesn't stick, you might be in luck. Next, check the color. The steel pennies have a silvery appearance, while the copper ones look more like a regular, pre-1943 penny. But be careful over time, steel pennies can rust or get coated with grime, so make sure you clean them gently to reveal their true color. Let's talk value. A 1943 steel penny in average circulated condition is usually worth between 10 and 50 cents. But if you find one in uncirculated mint condition, its value can jump up to around $10 to $15. However, if you come across one of those rare copper 1943 pennies, that's where things get exciting. Even in poor condition, a genuine copper penny can sell for tens of thousands of dollars. And in mint condition, they've been known to sell for 6 figures or more. 1943 Lincoln steel penny. To understand the 1943 steel penny, we first need to go back to 1943, during the heart of World War II. The U.S. Mint was facing a major copper shortage because all available copper was being diverted for the war effort used in ammunition, wiring, and other essential wartime materials. As a result, the U.S. Mint made a decision to temporarily switch from copper to steel for pennies. The 1943 pennies were struck from zinc-coated steel at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The 1943 Lincoln steel penny was produced at the San Francisco Mint, represented by the small S mint mark under the date. The penny was minted using a steel core that was coated with a thin layer of zinc to prevent rust. However, over time, many of these coins have experienced corrosion, which affects their value. Here's a quick breakdown of its composition. 99% steel, coated with 1% zinc. This change in material made the penny lighter and gave it a distinctive silver gray color, very different from the familiar copper Lincoln pennies. Now let's talk condition. Like all coins, the value of a 1943 steel penny depends greatly on its condition. Here's what you need to know. Heavily worn coins, or those with significant rust or corrosion, are typically worth only a few cents to $1. Lightly circulated coins can range from $1 to $3. Uncirculated examples with minimal wear can fetch $5 to $15. Mint state coins, those that have never been in circulation and are pristine, can be worth anywhere from $25 to $100 or more. Mint state coins, especially those graded by professional coin grading services like PCGS or NGC, can sell for much higher. In fact, some high-grade specimens have sold at auction for over $1,000. Now, while the 1943 Estill penny is interesting, there's an even rarer variation you should be aware of: the 1943 copper penny. Only a handful of these coins exist due to a minting error. They were struck on leftover copper planchets from 1942, and if you happen to find one, it could be worth upwards of $100,000 or more. But remember, these are incredibly rare, and most 1943 pennies you come across will be the common steel ones. 7D Wheat Penny. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series was first minted in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, these pennies feature Lincoln's bust on the obverse and two stalks of wheat. On the reverse, a design that became iconic and was produced until 1958. The 1937 D penny comes from the Denver Mint, signified by the small d just below the year. Denver Mint coins are known for having great quality strikes, and the 1937 D is no exception. So what was happening in 1937 when this penny was struck? The United States was still recovering from the Great Depression, and though the economy was slowly improving, people were still very cautious about money. Every penny truly counted, and the Lincoln Wheat Penny was a coin found in nearly every pocket. The Denver Mint struck over 50 million pennies in 1937, 50,430,000 to be exact. While that might seem like a huge number, it still means that this penny is a bit scarcer compared to some other years. But how does its value hold up today? Let's get into that. Just like any coin, the condition of the 1937 D Lincoln Wheat Penny plays a big role in determining its value. Coins are graded on a scale from poor P1 to mint state MS70. Most 1937 D pennies found today are in circulated condition, meaning they show signs of wear and tear. A heavily worn 1937 D penny in good condition might only be worth around 10 to 20 cents. But if you have a penny in higher grades like very fine or extremely fine, you could be looking at a value between $1 and $3. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a mint state coin, meaning no signs of wear, you're really in the money. A 1937 D Lincoln Wheat Penny graded MS65 can be worth $20 to $30, and some even fetch over $100 if they have particularly strong strikes or brilliant red color dot when examining your 1937 D penny. Pay attention to the sharpness of Lincoln's profile and the definition in the wheat stalks. A strong strike with crisp details increases the coin's value. Now let's talk about errors. Collectors are always on the lookout for error coins, and the 1937 D penny is no exception. One error to watch for is the repunched mint mark, where the D was stamped more than once, creating a slight doubling effect. If you have a repunched mint mark, the value could rise significantly, sometimes fetching $50 to $200 depending on the condition. 1951 D Wheat Penny. The Lincoln Wheat Penny was first minted in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a president's portrait, designed by Victor David Brenner. The wheat ears on the reverse represent prosperity and growth for the nation. In 1951, the Denver Mint struck the D Mint marked Lincoln Wheat Penny. More than 625 million of these pennies were produced that year, making it one of the most common wheat pennies of the 1950s. But even with such high production, certain factors can make a 1951 D penny valuable. Let's take a closer look at the design. The obverse side, or the front of the penny, features President Lincoln's iconic profile, along with the inscriptions "In God We Trust, Liberty" in the year 1951. Below the date, you'll find the D Mint mark, indicating it was minted in Denver. On the reverse, you'll notice the wheat ears flanking the words 1 cent in United States of America, along with the motto "E pluribus unum," which means out of many. This reverse design was used from 1909 to 1958, so it's a classic look for coin collectors. As we mentioned earlier, over 625 million 1951 D pennies were struck, which means they aren't particularly rare in circulated condition. However, coins in high-grade uncirculated or mint state can be harder to find. When it comes to wheat pennies, the condition or grade makes all the difference. A coin-graded good might just be worth face value, but in higher grades such as mint state MS, the value can increase significantly. If you have a 1951 D penny in pristine condition, it could be worth more than you think. All right, let's talk numbers. If your 1951 D penny is in circulated condition, its value is generally around 3 to 10 cents. But if you have a mint state coin graded MS65 or higher, it can be worth anywhere from $5 to $20 or more, depending on the condition and demand. And if you're lucky enough to have a coin with a rare error such as a die break or doubling in the lettering, the value could jump even higher. Some error pennies can go for hundreds of dollars at auctions. If you think you have a valuable 1951 D Lincoln Wheat Penny, it's important to get it graded by a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. Proper grading will help you know its true value. And if you're building a coin collection, don't forget to store your pennies properly to prevent damage. Use coin holders, tubes, or albums to keep them safe from scratches and tarnishing. So there you have it, the history, design, and value of the 1951D Lincoln Wheat Penny. Whether you're just getting started with coin collecting or you've been at it for years, the 1951D is a great piece to add to your collection. Make sure to double check your old pennies. You might have a hidden treasure waiting for you. 1953D Wheat Penny. Now let's focus on the 1953D Wheat Penny. The D stands for the Denver Mint, where this coin was struck. Over 700 million of these pennies were minted that year, making it a common coin, but don't let that fool you. There are still some valuable ones out there. 1953 was a significant time in American history. Dwight D. Eisenhower was the president. The Korean War had just ended, and the U.S. was experiencing a post-war boom. During this time, the Denver Mint produced a large number of wheat pennies, including the 1953D, as part of America's thriving economy. The Denver Mint was known for producing durable, high-quality coins, and the 1953D is no exception. However, due to the high number minted, most of these pennies saw heavy circulation, making well-preserved examples rarer today. Before we talk about value, let's go over how to identify a 1953D wheat penny. First, check the obverse, which features Lincoln's portrait. The key date is right below his bust, with the D mint mark just below the year. On the reverse, you'll see the iconic wheat stalks, framing the words 1 cent in United States of America. You might also spot the motto E pluribus unum above the design. Condition is everything when it comes to value. Pay attention to the penny's overall wear, any nicks, scratches, or even discoloration. Now let's talk about the big question: what is your 1953D wheat penny worth? In circulated condition, most 1953D pennies are worth around 3 to 10 cents. If your coin is in uncirculated or mint state condition, it can be worth significantly more. A mint state 1953D can range between $5 to $10. However, if your penny is graded MS65 or higher, it could be valued between $20 and $50. Of course, rarity plays a role too. There are error coins that can make a regular 1953D penny worth much more. Look out for double dies, repunched mint marks, or other striking errors. If you find one of these, the value can jump into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on the rarity and condition. So what should you do if you come across a 1953D Lincoln Wheat Penny? First, check its condition and look for any errors. Even though it's a common coin, those in pristine condition or with errors can be highly valuable to collectors. 1952D Wheat Penny. Let's set the stage. The year was 1952. Post-World War II, America was booming. The U.S. economy was on the rise, and the country was in the middle of the baby boom era. Coins like the 1952D Lincoln penny were part of the everyday currency in people's pockets. At the time, the penny had significant buying power. Imagine buying a piece of candy or even a postcard for just 1 cent. The 1952D penny was minted at the Denver Mint, and an impressive 746,130,000 pennies were produced that year. That's nearly 750 million coins. Because of this high mintage, it's not considered a particularly rare coin. However, the value can still vary depending on the condition and specific variety. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Like many coins, the 1952D penny has some known varieties and mint errors that collectors look for. One of the most sought after errors is the D over D repunched mint mark. This happens when the D mint mark was punched onto the coin more than once, resulting in a noticeable doubling effect. If you find one of these in your collection, it could increase the value significantly. When it comes to determining the value of your 1952D Lincoln Wheat Penny, the condition or grade of the coin is everything. Coins in lower grades like good or fine can be worth between 3 to 10 cents, slightly more than face value, but higher grade coins such as extra fine or those in mint state can fetch $1 to $5 or more. However, if you've got a penny with the D over D mint mark error, prices can jump. In uncirculated condition, these error coins have been known to sell for as much as $50 to $100 depending on the sharpness of the doubling. So there you have it. The 1952D Lincoln Wheat Penny may not be the rarest coin in your collection, but it holds a special place in history and can still have some value, especially if you come across a well-preserved one or an error variety. Are you a proud owner of a 1952D penny? Let us know in the comments below if you found any rare varieties or if you're still searching.